To activate launch control in the Vantage, you have to go to track mode first, and then you turn off traction by holding this down for 4 seconds, and you'll see that in the display there, and it's off, and now you're ready. And then you put your foot on the brake, accelerator all the way down, you see launch control active, you let go, and oh my God, wow. That was insane. Possibly one of the weirdest quirks about the Aston Martin Vantage is that the hood release is on the passenger side footwell instead of the driver's side footwell. Because this is a British made car, the hood release is on the passenger side because that's where the steering wheel usually is for them. But they never bothered switching it for the stateside. And that's pretty awkward, but kind of cool nonetheless. So what makes an Aston Martin Vantage more exquisite than a lot of its rivals is because Aston Martin puts a lot of care into each one of their cars. The interior alone on an Aston takes about 40 hours to put together, and that just shows you the love and passion that they have for each one of their cars. And then each Aston is painted by hand, taking a painstaking 50 hours plus to do so, and that's just the type of care that you don't get from its rivals at all. The aluminum that you see throughout the cabin is real aluminum. The glass buttons that you see here are real glass, and then the leather is the finest quality leather handpicked by Aston from the Bridge of Wear. And if you look closely, the doors on an Aston Martin open upward, and that's so you don't scratch the door, the bottom of the door, on a curb if you park your Aston Martin on the street. I don't think that's necessary because I don't know who's parking their Aston on the street and not in a garage. Power on the Aston Martin Vantage comes from an AMG source 4-liter twin-turbo V8 making 503 horsepower and 505 pound-feet of torque, and it's mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Aston Martin will start making their own engines very soon, and I'm looking forward to that. The Aston Martin Vantage is a true sports car through and through, so 0 to 60 has to be quick, and it is. 0 to 60 comes in just 3.5 seconds with a top speed of 195 miles an hour. So yes, you'll have a lot of fun. Depending on how you equip the Aston Martin Vantage, the pricing can really get up there. Pricing starts right under $150,000, but this one here, as loaded, is over $186,000, and that means you're looking at over $36,000 worth of options. That's pretty crazy. This segment has some really nice options. You have the McLaren 570S, you have the Mercedes-AMG GT or GTR, and you have the Porsche 911 GTS. I think, personally, the Aston Martin Vantage and the McLaren 570S are probably the most exclusive options you can buy here. Now, before I get into fuel economy figures, I want to point out something cool. When you pop open the fuel door, you'll see how Aston Martin signifies its top countries, including UK and US, a lot of the Middle Eastern countries, including United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, and China, telling them all to use 95 octane fuel. Now, you might think when it comes to fuel economy, this thing would be pretty thirsty, and it kind of is. You get 18 city, 24 highway. I am averaging, after a few days of driving, 16.3 miles a gallon, and to be honest, I'm quite impressed. That isn't that bad. Now, what truly sets the Aston Martin Vantage apart from its rivals is its exquisite design. It's truly a work of art. And while it may look really nice and really cool, a lot of the design elements were taken into consideration primarily to enhance the aerodynamics of the car. Now, you may not care about the technical design elements of the Vantage, but they are very important for when you're driving it hard and fast. The front splitter there directs airflow underneath the car and channels it to the areas of the car that really need additional cooling for when you're really pushing it to its limits. And yes, the front end of the Vantage is probably the most controversial part because of the giant grille. I absolutely love giant grills. I don't know why people hate giant grills so much. I love the fact that it gives the Vantage a very aggressive stance, and I love the tiny, sharp headlamps as well. The rear end is probably my favorite angle of the Vantage. I love how the spoiler is integrated to the body, and I love the fact that this design was carried over into the DBX SUV, which I can't wait to drive because that thing looks amazing. You don't have to pay an extra couple of $1,000s for LED headlamps because they are standard here on the Vantage. They're not adaptive, they're fixed in place. Those are the daytime running lights. I have the indicators on, so they turn into the indicators when you have them on. And I love the jagged edge design on them. They look really cool. And then on the back, you also have LED tail lights, and that's how they look with the indicators on. And if you look closely, they also have that jagged edge design that looks really nice. And the brake lights are right there, and at night, this thing looks really nice from the back. Depending on how you equip your Vantage, you have a variety of wheel choices. This one here specifically has 20-inch black wheels, which cost an extra $5,380. So that's pretty insane. The one thing that I absolutely love about the Vantage is that you can really make it your own, and that means every Vantage that you see on the road will probably be different than the other. You have a choice of over 50 colors to pick from. This color here specifically is called Onyx Black, and I love it because it sparkles really nice. And then if you're feeling very creative or you want to spend some more money to set yourself apart from the crowd, you can by adding some extra design elements. This model here has something called the Exterior Black Collection, which costs over $4,000. And then it has a black body pack, which costs an extra over $2,000. So yeah, it can get really expensive as you customize it more and more. You can pop the trunk by using the trunk release button right next to the windows. Don't mess that up. This is the key. You can pop the trunk with the key. This is the valet key. This isn't the original key. The original key looks really nice. Once you get the trunk open, it's very spacious, very nice. It's quite surprising, actually. And if you don't want to see what you have back here, you can just lift this little board up like that and block your view from whatever you have in the trunk, or you're picking up somebody and you don't want them to see who or what you have in the trunk. The interior of the Aston Martin Vantage is an outstanding place to be and very exquisite, and that's what you're paying for when you're buying an Aston Martin. You're paying for meticulous craftsmanship and great attention to detail. And again, you can truly make it your own because you have over 20 main color choices to pick from, and then you have different colors you can pick for the stitching, the headliner, the carpets, the seat belts, the center console. It goes on and on. You can customize this any way you really want it. The color combination that you see here is obsidian black mixed with indigo blue, and with contrast stitching, this interior can set you back a total of $3,000. That's crazy, so be very careful as you're customizing the interior of the Vantage. I absolutely love the design of the squared off steering wheel here. You have paddle shifters that are fixed on the column right back there. And then you have the ability to change your drive modes from here and your suspension modes from there. Very, very cool steering design. I like it a lot. The digital gauge cluster on the Aston Martin Vantage is pretty simple, but it does look very nice. I don't think you need something high tech here since you're focused on driving. And the only change that you really see here is when you switch through drive modes. I'm in Sport, this is Sport Plus, and this is Track. I'm not going to dive too deep into the infotainment system because, as we already know, Aston Martin is using Mercedes-Benz's last generation command infotainment system. You don't have Apple CarPlay, you don't have Android Auto. The Aston Martin DBX SUV, I think, will get an Aston Martin native infotainment system, which will have Apple CarPlay. And if you're a fan of buttons, you're going to love the center console because this is packed with buttons. You have your lock and unlock, your HVAC controls up here, and then you have your reading light buttons there, park, reverse, neutral, drive, and then your shortcut buttons for your infotainment, your camera button, auto, stop, start. I always turn that off because it's so annoying. Your volume knob, and then you have a touchpad for your infotainment. When it comes to advanced driver assist tech, you don't have much to play with here. You don't have adaptive cruise control. You don't have lane keep assist for the fact that you're supposed to be driving this car and not letting it drive itself. You do have a 360 camera, you have a rear view camera, a front view camera, and then you also have blind spot monitoring, and that's really about it. And to continue with the list of stuff you don't get a wireless charger. You have 2 USB ports right here in the center armrest. You don't have massaging seats, although those seats are quite comfortable. You don't have an ambient lighting system, so you have to enjoy the interior in just one color. And the sound system is great, but it's not that exciting for a car in this price range. The seats on the Aston Martin Vantage are very comfortable and very supportive. Very, very nice quality seats. You get heated seats as standard, but if you want cooled seats, you have to pay $1,595 extra, and you can turn both of them on at the same time to find the best temperature for you. You get a total of 2 cup holders, if that's what you want to call those things right there, but I think you only get those cup holders because Aston is telling you should be driving this car and not drinking a cup of coffee or water. Door open and close sound on an Aston Martin Vantage. That's how you open the door, from the outside and from the inside. Check out this door handle. Pretty nice. Here's how the horn sounds on a 2020 Aston Martin Vantage. Pretty solid, just like I expected it to be. Not disappointed at all. Now that I've answered all of your questions about the 2020 Aston Martin Vantage, let me give you my opinion on what I think about this car. I could get all technical and Aston Martin engineering on you, but I'm going to avoid that and just use regular English to describe my experience and how it is to drive the Aston Martin Vantage. Let's get to it. The Aston Martin Vantage here is the first Aston to have electronic rear differential, and that means you just have a better overall driving experience. In English, that means basically that the Aston Martin Vantage here can understand your driving behavior and react accordingly to give you the best driving experience and from stopping you from embarrassing yourself. As a daily driver, the Aston Martin Vantage is pretty smooth. However, this is a sports car through and through. You're not getting GT levels of comfort here. You only have 3 drive modes to pick from. You have Sport, Sport Plus, and Sport Track. There's no comfort or normal or eco mode here at all. This here is about precision, consistency, and a tight response. And when you pop it in Sport Plus or Track mode, everything here just gets sharper and better than regular sport mode. The throttle response will feel sharper than James Bond suits, and the upshifts and the downshifts will deliver heavy punches, and the steering wheel gets even more precise. Keep in mind, there's 7 decades of sporting experience here, so you can be rest assured you're getting one of the best sports cars out there. My top picks in this segment include the Porsche 911, the Aston Martin Vantage, and the Mercedes-AMG GT. I haven't driven the McLaren 570S, so I can't speak to that. That said, the Porsche 911 is probably the go-to option here for many in terms of heritage and experience, but the Aston Martin Vantage here is an experience unlike any other. This is all about beauty, precision, and power, not to mention you don't see an Aston Martin every day on the road, so that's an experience within itself. So if I were to shop in this segment, the Aston Martin Vantage would probably be my top pick for sure. Either way, thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you next time. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Omar Drives, because that's where I get all the questions that I answer in these videos. And if you're enjoying my content, make sure you share it with your friends and hit like and comment, because I always do my best to reply. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Oh man, I really love this thing.